Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at a very toxic team for the Open Great League. And this is most likely the most toxic one that you can play right now. This is a team, of course, around the Victreebel, which we kinda adjusted a little bit for the current meta. We're going to also have some more spicier stuff here. Still, I'm a little bit in like 2200, 2300 rating because I tanked before the Go Battle Day. But I was climbing quite a lot with this team, and it definitely is still something that works out super well. And I'm running here in the back the carving. You can use your Bastion, for example, your Registeel, but you just have to be a little bit more careful about how to use your Victreebel then, because the big advantage about having carving in the back, and we're also running tackle, which was more of an accident than actually willing, but like I stuck with it, which because just way better against those Medicham. But yeah, with carving, you're just going to be able to have a very positive matchup against the Medicham, which is really important, of course, if your lead goes down, because here we're still going to have a chance of winning this. If you're going to have, for example, a Bastion in the back over the carving, you're going to have a little bit of a more difficult time. We're going to have the Dewgong here as an adjustment for the current meta, which definitely was the right call, which I can tell you as well. Dewgong is in a very good save-up for this team, and I really enjoyed this Pokemon because it was a perfect glue basically to both hit something like a Gligar, but also still bait out the answers like a Medicham for your Pokemon in the back, which here, okay, is not really the biggest answer, but if you would run something like the Bastion, would be something I definitely want to swap into. It's just going to cover those weaknesses really nicely. So very cool Pokemon here. Definitely recommend you to try this one out. Very strong one here for sure. Also, we're going to be able to now take the Ice Punch from the opponent's Medicham onto our Carbink. Carbink is basically just a sponge. And this is exactly what you kind of want to do here. We have very bulky Pokemon in the back, so you can use our shields kind of freely onto our Victreebel to punish opponents with the fast move of Razor Leaf plus Acid Spray, which works out always kind of nicely. Yeah, we're going to be able to just go for the full tackle down now. This is the cool thing about tackle. The matchup, like in general, the matchups that you usually would lose with a Carbink are going to be a little bit more closer, but those matchups that are a little bit neutral, for example, this one here, is going to be a little bit weaker. So like you're going to basically shift it a little bit more to an even scale. Basically, you don't have like those polarizing matchups really, but you're going to have more matchups that are going to be around like you win with like a few HP left, etc. But here we're going to see, for example, why Dewgong is so great. We're going to encounter a Gligar. I don't really have to use a shield, but I'm still going to use a shield because it was clearly a dig. And we're going to be able to just go for the full farm down, allowing us to get out of this matchup with basically 2 moves stored. And like this, we're going to be able to just pressure the opponent of using some shields, but also we're going to get the attack drop against the opponent. And there's nothing that they can do about it. I can still survive a Rock Slide here for sure. I can just go for my next charge move. The switch clock going to be up afterwards. I will be able to still get the final shield here, and we can just go for the full farm now. I don't want to go for the leaf bait just to save some time, but this team worked out insanely well. Next opponent, we're going to have a Dragonite. We're going to swap out here into our Dewgong, allowing us to have 2 answers for Dragon-type Pokemon in the back, which is really nice for me as well. We're going to get out the opponent's Galarian Stunfisk, a Pokemon that's kind of underrated at the current time because everybody thinks, yeah, like it got nerfed. It's really bad, but it's still very solid against a lot of Pokemon in the meta, especially those other steel types. You're still going to be able to hit them hard with Earthquake, but of course also something like a Gligar is a little bit tricky to deal with. Here we're going to still be able to go for a Drill Run as we were able to bait them first, because this will allow us to survive those Rock Slides a little bit easier, and also we'll be able to realize the Pokemon here, which is going to be nice. As we can see, the final Pokemon being a Lantern. So what we can do here is align our Victreebel against the Lantern, and we can also align our Carbink against the opponent's Dragonite. Here, of course, it would have been cool to have the Rock Throw for the Dragonite, but it doesn't really matter because you're still going to be able to hard wall them. So we're going to have a great matchup here. I'm just going to swap out immediately. And the opponent has nothing that they can really do here. We're going to do so much damage still, even with Tackle, which you can see here, putting them in the half health range. Gonna get the final shield from the opponent as well, as we can just let those moves go through. Even if they go for superpower, which they don't even do here, we're going to be fine because we're going to get the opponent's defense dropped, which our Victreebel are going to appreciate, but also we can easily survive that move anyway. So we can just let all the moves go through, keep our shield for our Victreebel, clean up the game fairly easily. After also we can still go for Moonblast here, which is going to put them a little bit lower. So there is nothing the opponent can do here anymore, as 1 more Razor Leaf or 2 more Razor Leaves is all it takes to win this game. Next opponent, we're going to have a Mandos in the lead. Again, horrible lead for us, so we're going to swap out into our Dewgong. Dewgong is always going to be our safe swap, no matter what really the lead is, I feel like at least. Like, I don't really think there's anything else which would really work out for it. And you might also think, with this team, what do you do against Registeel? Victreebel actually can win against Registeel. I have my wrong IV Victreebel. I think if I have my better IV variant, which I saw in the beginning as well, I would have been fine. I just forgot about it, that I had a different one built that had lower CP but better IVs. So here we're going to be able to still take out the, like, basically, would have been cool if I shielded the Psychic up there. I think I would have been able to realign, which would have been really nice. But now we're going to see that we're going to get completely hardwalled. So actually, if I shield up the Psychic, I think I would have been fine in this matchup and would have won this one. But this was my own fault. You're going to see now the next opponent going to have the Sableye in the lead, which is amazing for us because especially with my IV spread, which is very attack weighted, we're going to be able to just shield once, farm them down, and win this lead matchup, allowing us to now swap out afterwards. But we don't even want to swap out because the opponent runs the Medicham in the back, allowing us to go for an Acid Spray. We will be able to do a ton of damage even with our fast move as they swap into their Lickitung, allowing me to swap into my Dewgong. This is looking really good for me as I'm going to actually use a shield here just because I'm fairly certain that I can just realign my Pokemon here. I don't really need the shields for my Carbink against the Medicham, and I will be able to hopefully get to another Icy Wind against the Medicham, which would be really nice for me, but here we're going to get 2 Icy Winds off before the opponent can get to another charge move, getting also the shield from the opponent as well, as we should be able to realign our Pokemon perfectly. So yeah, Power Whip comes through, I can go for my next Icy Wind as the opponent decides to actually swap into their Medicham, knocking me out with a, never mind, they're going to go for a Power Punch. I take this as I can swap out into my Carbink, I can take any charge move from the opponent, doesn't matter if they are buffed or not. Carbink is just going to town here, allowing us to just go for the Moonblast and knock them out here. Going to go ahead and get the big KO. As we will see the Lickitung coming in, we can go ahead and just go for the full farm down here. But as you can see, the Power Whip is gonna go ahead and take some damage on us, but we can still swap out, go for the Icy Wind, win this game. And we can move on to the next one. Again, a lot of wins after we lose lead hard as well a lot of times. Here, great lead for us finally, as we're going to see the Greninja here swapping out immediately into their Medicham, which is interesting for us because we're going to stay in here, and yes, I'm going to use a shield, and yes, I'm going to go for a charge move, but my goal here is a little bit different towards what I usually do here, because I'm going to stay in, try to get the shield from the opponent, which does work out quite well, and now I'm deciding to swap out into the Carbink, because now they're perfectly into farm down range, which basically means that I will get a ton of energy, which is going to allow us to get to a Moonblast against the opponent's Greninja, which is going to be very nice for us. That's at least what I thought, but in comes instead the opponent's Registeel. And here we might see the worst matchup that we could have here, but maybe it's not as bad, as we already see that Tackle is actually really decent in this matchup, better than the Rock Throw as well, getting the opponent fairly low because it's a one-turn move, doing basically consistent damage, every turn 1 damage usually. It is actually doesn't really matter if they debuff us or not, because it's our main damage source, and we're gonna see here already, we're gonna get the opponent very low, but also what we can do is we can swap into our Dewgong, take the move, we don't have to shield here, our shields are again basically main strategy, going all into the Victreebel. And I'm going to decide to wait until they're going to swap out here, and they're going to decide to swap into the Greninja, and as we see, we chunk so much damage onto the opponent as we can use a shield against the opponent's Night Slash, we can go for the full farm down, and now, yeah, there's a Registeel in the back, but what does the Registeel going to do here? We're going to be able to go for Acid Spray, gonna get the shield, we still have a move stone onto our Dewgong, but we can also just farm them down with the Victreebel, and this is the cool thing about this matchup, Victreebel actually usually wins this. What do you do against Deoxys? It's a little bit awkward. A lot of them are going to try build up to 10 fast moves, so like 10 counters is 2 Psycho Boosts. So I'm deciding to swap out after 1 charge move of my own, which is going to allow us to catch a Psycho Boost, which is amazing because now this forces the opponent to swap out. And yeah, this is going to be a little bit awkward. There's going to be just a Body Slam, so there's no reason for me to shield this move up. But again, of course, I would have rather appreciated something which we can definitely win. This is going to be too much of a neutral matchup for me to win this game, or like win this matchup here. But it's still going to be fine for us. We're going to have this shield advantage still around, so we can just go for another Icy Wind. And like this, we can just go ahead and go into our into our Carbink, which will be able to take any charge from the opponent, double debuffed, Power Whip, non-step from the opponent's Lickitung is totally fine. Also, did you know that Power Whip and Grass Knot are basically the exact same move in terms of damage and energy. I always thought that Grass Knot was a horrible move and that Power Whip was such a strong move. They're exactly the same, and I have no idea why I thought this the entire time. So is there any move where you also thought like, oh, this one is so bad, and actually it's fairly decent? Same goes, by the way, for me also for Disarming Voice. It's a Foul Play clone, which is not great, like don't get me wrong, but it's way better than I thought it is. I actually thought that Disarming Voice would be such a horrible move, but it's actually okay. Yeah, I made a mistake against the opponent, by the way. I should have not went into my Victreebel immediately. I should have stayed in for a little bit with my Carbink first, but it's fine. I can just go ahead, go for the knockout, and win this game anyway, but definitely a little bit of a mistake by me. Interesting lead here. We're going to see the Hexorus. Spoiler alert, there's most likely going to be a video from me at least with Hexorus as well fairly soon. And this Pokemon is really cool. Like honestly, Hexorus is super underrated in the current meta because Hexorus is able to beat the Alolan Sandslash. It's going to be able to beat the Lickitung. It's going to have Surf for the Gligar. It's going to be able to beat the Registeel. It's just a really cool core breaker in the current meta. And of course, it's also going to be able to beat the Victreebel usually. Here we're going to be able to still go ahead and go for a full farm against the opponent's Medicham. I don't care too much about their Psychic, I don't really care too much about anything they go for, but I'm going to be able to get up so high in terms of my energy, which is going to be so nice for me. Getting out of this matchup with around like 80 energy is amazing, as we will see the opponent swapping into their Lantern. So I decided to swap immediately into my Victreebel, which seems to be a little bit weird, but I can just go ahead and fully farm down against the opponent's Hexorus. And yes, Hexorus is so squishy that our Victreebel is just able to knock them out with the Faust move, which is resisted against them, but it doesn't really matter because it doesn't look like they are resisted. And I decided to let this move go through as I have 2 Rock Slides stored basically onto my Carbink. So there's nothing really that they can do about it. I can just go for 2 Rock Slides and that's going to be game, as they even let the first move go through, knowing that we're going to win this game here. So second to last game today, we're going to have what's called Deoxys in the lead here. This is looking fairly okay for us. We're going to do exactly the same thing again. We're just going to go for a Leaf Blade, and I'm going to go for one more fast move and then swap out, trying to catch a Psycho Boost. Let's see if that's going to work again, and it does work again, which is amazing for me as I will be able to take the Psycho Boost, and they decide to swap out into their own Dewgong, which is okay for me. I can go for my own Drill Run first, which is cool, so I win CMP, which is actually fairly important in this matchup. But let's see what they're going to do here. They're going to go, of course, again for the Icy Wind, actually. Never mind, they don't go for the Drill Run. So what actually my goal would be here is that I could swap out already after this one here. This is going to be a CMP tie. Hopefully I can swap out. I should swap out here immediately afterwards, and I do swap out, thank God. I was like worrying that I wouldn't do this, but I can now farm them all the way down, which is amazing. So goodbye there. They're still going to be forced to throw a move with their Deoxys, but I can use a shield here, and I can force at least either a shield or realignment against the opponents. I can just go for my own Leaf Blade. They're going to let this move go through. I thought at least. No, they're going to shield this move up while we can still go ahead and realign, which is fine for me, as we're going to see the Carbink against the opponent's Greninja. I think even a Rock Side, most I put them into tackle down range, but it doesn't really matter. As I go for the Hydro Cannon, I'm gonna still try to go for the Moonblast. I didn't get to the move yet, but I will still be able to use a shield, and I can still reach the Moonblast here, which is gonna get the knockout against the opponent, and we can move on into the final game. And yes, this team works out insanely well and is super toxic. Horrible lead for us. We're gonna have the Charger Bug against us, and I didn't really know what I really wanted to do against this Pokemon. I tried to swap onto the Charge move here. As you see, clearly worked out perfectly fine for me. I will take this exercise, and they're going to swap out into a Poliwrath. This is going to be horrible for me. I can still go for the Drill Run. This Drill Run is gonna do some decent damage, and as we're going to see, they are going to still be able to farm me down in time. And sadly, Poliwrath is learning the Charge move Ice Punch, which would knock me out here. So I'm going to be forced to use a shield, and it is not looking too good for me, as I'm going to be forced to use another shield. So we are 2 shields down, we are a Pokemon down, now we have equal Pokemon, and a Charger Bug against us in the back, which is really difficult to deal with. And what's going to be otherwise in the back? It's going to be a Gligar. Yeah, there is no lot that I can do here, right? We will find out shortly here. We can still go for a Rock Slide. Gonna get the shield though, that's kind of nice. But, yeah, it's honestly, like, there's nothing I can do about it. They're gonna go for their own Dig, which doesn't knock me out, interestingly enough. I can go for the Moonblast. Maybe they're going to let this move go through. Let's see. They actually do let this move go through. And now there might be a range where I can just farm them all the way down. Dig comes through, gonna get the knockout here. I can go for the farm down here. And it's going to be the Charger Bug in the back. Can we actually still win this? We can go for the double debuff onto their defense. Can we still survive a charge move from the opponent though? I don't think we can, and this is sadly going to be a loss as the Exeter is going to knock me out. But that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.